Hi, this is a how I set video for wings. This is not going to make sense if you don't solve the puzzle yourself, or at least watch my solution guide. So I really recommend that you do that first. For reference, which I'll be coming back to a couple of times, this is a finished puzzle. So with that said, I'm going to now open up Fpuzzles and start sort of working through like how I set the puzzle. So the idea for this puzzle started out with, what if I have a cage here and a cage here which both contain a 1? And I guess I decided on them being 3-cell cages, but this guy contains a 1, this area contains a 1, then this area contains a 1. And you can force that pretty easily with a 3-cell cage, or just a cage in general, but I, for some reason, decided on a 3-cell cage. And so I'm kind of averse to using triangular number cages. Like, for instance, you got this 3, 6, 6, you have 10, and like also the anti-triangular numbers, I guess. That's 24, 30, etc. I don't know why. I mean, objectively, there's nothing wrong with a 3 cage or like a 3-cell 6 cage, because a 3-cell 7 cage has 0 degrees of freedom just the same. But I guess it gives me more freedom to like make this another smaller sum, you know, maybe with other cages. So I typically prefer 7-cell, not to use 6-cell cages, or sorry, 3-cell 6 cages. So I just decided here's a 7 cage and here's an 8 cage. Note that the geometry was not quite as precise. I mean, I just put cages in locations, and it was definitely not these locations. I just don't remember the original ones, and even if I did, it'd be kind of a waste of time to go over them. And then I decided that if 1 is here, I could do something clever by like putting a big enough cage here that puts the 1 here. So I like just decided on 12. And it turns out I was very lucky that I decided to do 12. Like, this is not really a conscious decision to make it exactly 12. I just like got lucky. But anyway, so like what this did was, you know, you have 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. And then like 2 went here, so this 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. And then I got the idea. Like, just a vague sense. Like, if I could do this thing and force 1 here. Like, if you guys know, I would rather not solve it. If you guys know H2's puzzles, they're really good. They're very high quality puzzles, especially like the killer ones. If you've done those, you'll know that there's always this diagonal, maybe 1, maybe 2, usually just 1 diagonal. And there's a lot of cool logic with that extra region. So I wanted to do something along those lines. If putting 1 in this region and 1 in this region could force 1 to go here, maybe I could do something similar along the diagonals, like put a cage here and a cage here. And so after a bit of trial and error, again, the geometry wasn't really determined. I mean, I think I did end up using this geometry just because I thought it looked visually better and it was more constraining. So like here's a 5 and here's a 9. Like the reasoning was very much just like you force the diagonal, because if you have 1, 4, then you have 1, 4 here, and oops, you guys have to have 2, 3, 5 here. But that's too big, right? So like, yeah, that was like the idea. Like I was like thinking in my head what would work. I'm like, oh, it's a 5 and a 9. So then like I got 3 on this diagonal end, you know. And then I'm like, okay, well I have these patterns. Like it would be really cool if I could like put down a cage here with some total, right? And like force 1 up here. And initially I didn't really know what to do. Actually initially wanted like force 2, I think. I don't remember. But I did some stuff that didn't work. But then I eventually thought of something. Okay. If I can make this cage, if I like put a cage here with a big enough total, and make this cage, if this cage's total is big enough, having a 1 here would force a 1 up here. Or another way to think of it is, the 1 in this column has to go here. Right? And that's just how the actual puzzle goes. And I'm like, okay, well I have 7, 8, 9, kind of want to keep the trend going. So I'm like, why don't I make this guy 10, right? And that does an interesting thing of also putting 2 here, which puts 2 up here. And I'm like, okay, what if I make this so big that 2 can't go in here? And so all this would have to be is 12, but like I already had a 12 cage, so I'm like, and this is like very much not logical reasoning, it's just like I want diversity, I guess. Like I'll play around with stuff if it doesn't work out, but if it does work out, whatever. I decided I already had a 12 cage, I'm gonna put 13. Like I felt like it would be more constraining because more unique cages, probably less chance of deadly pairs. So I'm like, okay, here's a 2. And like very much your stuff. Oh, and this is a 4-8, by the way. I forgot about this, but yeah, that's very much there. Okay. So all I'm missing now is a 10. And I guess something I want to mention is that like 1 goes here and 2 goes here. I initially tried to like do something like this to get like a 2-8, I think. But like it turns out you can't actually. Like this doesn't work. Like I tried having this be a 2-8, but like if we like just try. I need it. Oops, what the hell? I need to turn pencil marks that's given. Anyway, like if you just look at it, like it just ends up that like you can't put an 8 in box 7. I'm like, this is a pretty long logical chain, but like maybe something I do will solve it later on. I was not aware of how close I was to finishing the puzzle, by the way. But I was like, okay, apparently the computer tells me that like I can't have an 8 in this row here. Or sorry, yeah, in this row here. Because then like if I have an 8 here, then 8 will go here. Which means 8 goes here. Which means that 8 can't go anywhere here. Which is a pretty long deduction, and like for a puzzle like this, I don't want anyone to be able to see that, but I'm like, whatever. Maybe I'll like make it easier to see the 8 later. Like maybe I'll just put an 8 like here somehow. Maybe like putting 8 here, and this is what I do with a dot. But anyway, I'm just like, okay, well, this technically forces this to be 2, this to be 1, 9. And I'm like, if this becomes problematic, I will deal with it later, right? Like, if this becomes way too difficult to see, I'll deal with it later. But I'm like, okay, this is, like, I'm pretty satisfied. Yeah. And, like, this actually does a lot, and I'm not going to, like, actually solve it myself. Like, presumably you've done this puzzle, so you know. But, yeah. There's like a lot of junk candidates. I'm just going to remove right now, actually. Nah, I won't. I'll remove it. I'll remove it here. Oh. No, I think there's a lot more we could do. I think, like, for instance. Yeah, okay. I think you get to, like, this point. And, like, you need a 1 on the diagonal, so 1 has to go here. And I'm going to also get rid of this. You need a 1 in these guys. So, like, you need 1 here, and it can't go here. You need 1 in this box. So, like, these are 1s, and I'm like, huh, okay. If I draw a cage like this, and again, I didn't determine the total yet, but if I draw a cage like this, Basically the way you think about this is, this can't be, because a 1 is here, this can't be a 1. And then you have to have a 1 in this diagonal, so it's here and here, right? I guess, whatever, they're given digits. I don't care. And then, like, I guess there's some more stuff you can do with the 3s. That clears up. Okay. And then I was just like, I felt like I was pretty close. Like, if you look at this, like, I'm obviously very close. So I'm just gonna like keep putting in totals until I get something that I like. And then, like, I got 16. Like, I'm gonna keep putting in totals until the computer tells me that, like, it's nice. And then I'm gonna go check that it's actually nice. But, like, I didn't want to do work to manually check all these. And apparently, it turns out nicely. So, actually, what happens is, and this is a lot of steps, but, like, okay, I'll help the solver along here, because I know 6 has to go in here, right? Because in this box, there's 6, 7. I'll help it out. And yeah, basically, like, after you, like, just do everything you can, you get to this point. You see this 1-4 deadly pair that there's no way to resolve this. Like, fundamentally, I would have to go back so far if I wanted to resolve this, like, without anything extra. And also, like, getting this cage is a little bit difficult. It's a little toxic. So I'm like, what if I could streamline this process and also, like, solve this problem and solve this problem? So I'm like, huh, okay. Like, I wasn't sure if this would work, but I'm like, why don't I just try doing this? And then it just worked. So yeah, that's how I solved this puzzle, or how I set this puzzle. I hope this was informative. Sort of like thinking, you know, how does someone think of a puzzle? I hope this encourages you to make your own puzzles. And I also hope that you noticed that the process of setting the puzzle was very similar to the process of solving the puzzle. It's just that instead of being like, oh, like this cage implies that the 1 goes here and the 1 goes here, I just look at it and I'm like, how could I resolve it once? I'm like, with a cage, and that cage could also, like, narrow down enough stuff to just finish the puzzle for me. So, yeah. Like, I was considering briefly changing the cage when I saw this deadly pattern arise of 1-4, of like 8 9s, but I'm like, then I saw the 1-4s, I'm like, oh, there's nothing I could do about that. So I'm just like, I'm gonna put down this dot and call it a day. So yeah, that's the puzzle. Thanks for watching.